Hello, this is Landon from Chapter 4, Group 3, and this video I'm making will be on the what, so what, and now what section for the group project. Now for the what section to begin with, the first concept I would like to further develop are verbal fillers. Now what's a verbal filler? A verbal filler are sounds that we use to fill gaps in our speech. And you may be thinking to yourself, well, how is this used in nonverbal communication when this involves speaking? Well, that's a valid question. It's involved in nonverbal communication because typical words, they stand in place for specific meanings, but verbal fillers, they do not. And so what's some examples of a verbal filler? Verbal fillers are words like and if you think back to speeches you've given, you can probably think of many occurrences where you've used these. Next is the so what section. Now, I believe that these verbal fillers matter because I believe that we need to be aware of when and how we use them. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, why do you believe that? Well, I think that because if we're aware of when and how we use them, we may be able to change so that we don't use them as often. But that's likely not the case because when you're giving a speech, you normally you don't think about like when you're using it just happens. Lastly is the now what section. Now, I believe we use this concept of verbal fillers because it's a must to let our brain think of what to say next. Now, of course, our speech would sound a lot smoother and more correct if we didn't use the verbal fillers like and like our teachers try and teach us in school to not use them. But I feel like we need them in our language and our speeches because it helps our brain to think of what to say next. But by all means, if you can correct it because it would make your speaking sound a whole lot better. Now on to my second concept. To begin with the what section, the concept I will be developing further are emotional imbalances. Now, emotional imbalances are occurrences when one relation or partner expresses too much emotion in a way that causes a burden for the other person. Now, an example of this would be like if you're having a conversation with someone and they just start expressing so much emotion. For example, they could be crying excessively, and this could cause the situation to get awkward because you might not know how to respond to the person or how to calm the person down, which would just cause the situation to get very awkward. Next is the so what section. Now, I believe this concept of emotional imbalances matters because we need to learn how to become better educated at this topic. Now, I think that this occurs way too much in our society, and I think we need to learn how to correct it. I believe that when someone starts getting emotional, we should be able to respond correctly and help this person out. And if we just let the situation get awkward, and it won't help that person at all because they won't be feeling any better, even though you're trying to help them by comforting them, but the situation is it's too awkward. Lastly is the now what section. Now, my suggestion for how we can use this concept of emotional imbalances, or even why we must use it, is because I believe this is just happening way too often to be ignored, and I believe people don't know enough about it in order to fix it, which is why I think we need to spread the word about this concept so that people are more aware of it, and when a situation like this comes into play, they'll have been educated about it and know more about what to do and not just let the situation get out of hand and get too awkward. They can intervene and correctly display the appropriate response to the person's emotions, which is why I think we should just use this concept to better our knowledge, because I feel right now people just don't know enough about what to do in this kind of a situation.